In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Marianne's guests are leaders in their field, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in their own work. They teach others to develop, refocus, and grow. Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. And remember, make every moment count.
Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so excited to be spending this time here with you today. We've got quite a show lined up. Our first guest, Laura-Fenimore, is here today to talk to us about not only her book, Skinny, Fat, Perfect, but also in regards to how women could go ahead and men, women, everyone can look at our body image and really appreciate who it is that we are. So let's welcome to the show, Laura.
Hi, Marianne. I'm so grateful to be here.
Oh, what a joy it is to have you here. Now, you are the expert on body image. You're an acclaimed author, you public speaker, coach. I've listened to a lot of the information that you have out there. And I have to ask you, what inspired you to take this path?
So when people see people, they usually have some instant judgments about people. And when people meet me and they find out that I almost took my life and that I was 100 pounds heavier and then I was an alcoholic and I used drugs and I smoked, they have a hard time believing that. But it's all true. And when I was 24 years old, I was, most kids are figuring out what they're going to do after college. And I was planning my exit from this world because there wasn't any reason for me at that point to live. I was 100 pounds overweight. I was using alcohol. On a regular basis. I was working as a bartender, actually. And I didn't really see a lot of reasons to go on. So just taking you back, I'm the youngest of 8 in a large Italian Catholic family from Long Island, New York. And my father's favorite thing to tell his children on a daily basis were, you kids should have never been born. So there was physical abuse, there was an emotional abuse, there was rage. And let's just say that I came out of the womb into a very unsafe, hostile environment. And I took to food like it was my bottle. It was my source of life and living and everything. And so, compulsive overeating became a way of life for me. And that's how I survived. And I can't say I thrived. I survived. Mm-hmm. And food was my comforter. It was my nurturer. It was love for me. And even though, Marianne, I could talk about that, I actually was sophisticated and intelligent enough at a very young age to say, yeah, I know I'm a compulsive overeater, but I didn't ever see a way out. And it wasn't until right around the time I was 24 that I was planning my exit that I also met somebody that I hold as an angel in my life, who came into my life and basically showed me and said to me that there was another way, and that she told me that really all I was love. And something about her approach penetrated my heart in such a deep way that I believed her. And that was my road to recovery. That was the turnaround for me that led me initially into 12-step programs where I released 100 pounds, got clean and sober, and started my journey. And I was also given a very, very direct message from the universe at that point, which is, this is an opportunity for you to heal. And, this is your mission and your purpose in the world. Well, when you're 24 and you're out of your mind and you're newly sober and you're, getting this directive about your mission and your purpose, you don't really know what to do about it. But I can go back at that point in my life and see how I was clear. And all these years later, I am doing my mission and my purpose. So it took me till probably my late 30s till I knew that I couldn't do this work until I felt embodied. And, it took losing weight, still hating my body, spending years being a bulimic and taking laxative and diet pills and hating my body as a thin person and realizing that it wasn't about the body, but I needed to really make peace with myself and start to love and like myself. And I couldn't do this work until I was able to do that. And now I'm proud at, over a decade of doing this work, that not only have I made peace with my body and with food and with the scale, but certainly that's the work that I do with the amazing students that I have all around the world.
And I can see where people are so empowered with you because you've walked that path. You know you know the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know what different people are going through when they come to you for consulting to help walk them through this. And I think sometimes that's the most important because people they do want to know that you care, but they also want to know, have you done what I'm going through?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now you said that you hated your body when it was fat and thin. When did you come to a place of peace about that?
Well, I would say that it was somewhere around my mid-30s. Again, intellectually, we all know, well, many of us know that it's not about the body. And we know that we live in a world that teaches, especially young girls, how to compare themselves to other women and that their bodies are a reflection of who they are. I mean, those are the messages that we get very, very young, and we're socialized to believe that we are our bodies, that is who we are. And if it's pretty and thin, then we're okay. And if it's not, then we're not okay. And it sounds so ridiculously trivial to even say those words because it's so silly. Doesn't leave a lot of room. But somebody decided what beauty was, and that's the beauty myth and the standard that we're all living in. So no matter how much a woman, even if she wants to look good and chooses to look good, it really takes a lot of strength to get that I am not my body. So I knew it, but I had to embody it because I always say I bought the lie too. I bought the lie that we're only as important as our outside. And that's just not true. So,
yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. and the thing's interesting. I mean, I can relate to your story. I mean, because my family, they were a little, just a little odd. It was like growing up with National Lampoon, Vacation, an ongoing trilogy there. But I mean, there's always stuff going on. And my stepdad wanted boys, and so he had a bunch of girls instead, and we were never good enough. And so you get into the whole that whole never good enough story. Yeah. And growing up, I had to work at it to remove that story from me. So, and how are you able to let go of body pain and learn to love your body?
So again, it's a process, not a pill. And what we are also trained to believe is that we're going to get fast, instant results. And especially with the, multi-bazillion dollar dieting industry, which I don't want to trash or put down, but I do think that there is some misleading going on around people losing weight fast, easy, and quick, and that there is a big myth about sustainable weight loss. I don't think that anything that comes off fast stays off fast. And it's in the same way that we don't get instant results with anything. I mean, it requires time and effort and commitment and patience and all of that stuff that humans, So I don't lie to people from the start. I tell them that, we have to, if you want to work with me, you have to be committed to a process. And there's a lot of layers to uncover before we can start really uncovering the jewel that's inside of you. And she's not far inside of you, but she's kind of been covered up with a lot of thoughts and beliefs and myths about who you are. And we got to find that jewel. And yeah.
Yeah. So what is like the most difficult issue that you see people coming to you for in regards to learning to love their bodies?
Well, I think that people believe what other people think about them more than they see their truth. Mm-hmm. So we all have stories about our lives, and we've all had our own family stories and environmental stories, and who we were raised by, the environment around us, where we were brought up, and then our body stories. Our body stories, our food stories are super important, and women are attached to their body and their food stories. And usually that story is a pretty negative story, Marianne. I mean, it doesn't take much for women to see, okay, this is my body story. And my body story is I'm usually too fat. I've always been this way. It's impossible. I'm in menopause. It's impossible. Everything is impossible. Mm-hmm. And when that is the body story, then that's what starts showing up. I mean, it's like any story that we have with anything in our life. We live into the story that we tell, or we move away from that story and create a new empowered story. And I just got an email just earlier today from a student of mine who is very resistant to working with me because, quite frankly, she was pretty angry and pissed off. And she's like, I don't want, this person telling me that she thinks she understands my body story or my body. And one day she got it that she couldn't keep going on the way that she was going on. And she had been in a miserable job for almost 30 years and had a real conflicting relationship with an overweight family. And she's overweight herself. And there's a lot of stuff and story there. And today she wrote and said, I see how I'm going to keep on attracting these situations in my life until I start loving myself. Mm-hmm. I see how I fight with myself. I see how I am at war with myself. I see how I'm at war with my body. I see how I'm at war with food. And so I say we don't get very far being at war with anything or anybody, and certainly not the thing that moves us through this lifetime, our bodies. So how do we change when we're at war with the thing that we're trying to change? It's pretty hard. There's a lot of constriction there. So we have to start making peace with it before we can actually change it. And that's a paradigm that is not talked about at Weight Watchers or any of the corporate diet clubs. Perhaps it is in some form, but not on the level of changing the story and making peace first before we can transform the physical, because we want to go on a diet and think that that's going to make us happy, but it's flip-flop. We get happy. Mm-hmm. And then if the body needs to balance out with the physical, then it will, but it's not going to come from demand and force and willpower and all the things that we were trained that it's going to come from.
Yeah. I mean, and I agree with you 100%. A lot of times people think, well, I lose the weight, how you're saying, I'm going to be happy. But a lot of, for women, if they have a lot of weight, a lot of times they're patting themselves against something, mm-hmm. So that way that they're not being bombarded with maybe nasty comments from a family member or a toxic work environment or whatever the case is. There's a initial pain there that they're trying to really keep themselves from feeling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Being re-hurt. So what is the key to healing?
Well, that's like asking, what's the meaning of life? I mean, the key,
I know, right?
There's a lot of keys to healing, but first actually getting in touch with that you want more than just being thin. Okay. I mean, women come to me at all sizes and shapes and ages, and I've definitely worked with women that are undereaters. But for the most part, women come to me because they've tried every diet and they're just sick and tired of hating their bodies. And the key is first to change your story and then to really define what health means for you, because there's a tremendous amount of information out there, which is a gift. And it also can be a curse, because it's like, is this good for me? Is it not good for me? I'm getting all of these contradictory, conflicting information about what's healthy, what's not healthy. Is coffee healthy? Is wine healthy? Is sugar? Is it, the French eat sugar, that this eats this? It's like all this is crazy making for most people. It's like, what is health? And every single person has to come to a decision about what health feels like for their body. Because, I could very easily say, here's a diet plan that I think is really healing and healthy for you. But for, 50% of the people, that's not what their body wants or needs. Now, I mean, there are basic rules about eating food that comes from the earth rather than from a bag or a box or from a can. I mean, there are like complete rules that I offer and hold around eating real food most of the time. But what that real food is, I mean, I've been a vegetarian for almost 40 years. Do I impose that on my students? Of course not, because I know it's very personal why I'm a vegetarian. It has nothing to do with what anyone thinks or believes. It's a personal thing for me, and I wouldn't suggest that people have to live that. What I know is that everybody has different tastes and different beliefs, and so defining what healthy is for the individual, super, super, super important. And I also want to say back to, what is healthy. If we believe what the boxes all say, if we believe what, Joe Schmo thinks healthy is for me, then chances are I'm going to feel pretty bad, because I haven't made the decision coming from me and my body. So that's part of what we're also clearing away is, you hear often, what does your body really need? And people are like, I don't know what my body needs. I've been at war with it for so long. I don't know what it really needs. I don't even know what my taste buds how they'd react if I started eating real food, or I don't even know what hunger really is. Those are the kind of things, Marianne, that have to be dealt with.
Yeah. Well, and so can you give us some helpful tips to walk away with regarding healthy body image and healthy weight?
Sure. One of the things that people do is they blame the world for their body's problems. And we have to wake up and stop blaming people. We have to stop blaming our parents and our exes, and we have to stop blaming our spouses and our relatives, and this person makes me eat and this person doesn't, and I feel pressured to eat by this person. And all of that, Marianne, is just more external noise that is might be happening, but at some point, we have to stand up and take responsibility for our lives and stop blaming the world. And I know people are triggered by the victim word, but really, we're not victims of the outside world. And if we are, then we need to walk away from whatever that is. And I know that is, for some people, easier said than done, but it's very true. So we really have to stop blaming the world. We have to... that comes with stop judging ourselves as well. Like, we can't judge ourselves and expect to change. It's just not going to work. It's not going to work. And then I think that a mind that's been in a lot of pain and suffering around their bodies, that same mind is not going to be the mind of ridicule and then healing. So there's no way I would have gotten where I have gotten without the help of a lot of people. And I've been a huge proponent of support and community and tribes and getting support from individuals, from groups, because if I could heal myself, that would have been a piece of cake. But I was just like trying to do it on my own and suffering more and more and more. So I think that there's a big myth about people getting support means, that I'm weak. And like support is the most courageous, strongest thing that an individual can do. It's actually not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. And I think that it kind of leads me to my next question, where we talk about that inner dialogue, that inner conversation we have with ourselves. And what are some things that we could start doing to shift it into a direction that we would want things to go?
So if the story of I wake up every day and God, I can't stand my thighs. They're just disgusting. Or my breasts are too big, or they're too small. Or God, I wish my nose were smaller. And, we're just focused on like fighting that external, like, ugh. Mm-hmm. And people have those thoughts throughout the day, and they're big energy drains. They're drains, not fountains. So when those vampires start showing up, we focus on the function of our body over the form. We start appreciating that my arm moved today, that my fingers are moving. My fingers are holding this mouse, which is moving around the screen. And then I get to type with my fingers on my keyboard. And, there are no words, like really there are no words to say what a miracle our bodies are. They are a miracle. I mean, that we get to be in this body that is working round the clock, 24/7. We don't have to tell our hearts to beat or our brains to think or our legs to move. It's doing it involuntarily, and we have to just appreciate the function of our body over the form. And that's a great place for people to start, appreciating the function over the form. It's like, wow, my liver is cleaning up. It's being a recycler right now for me. And I never even think about my liver and give it any kind of love. But really, what would my life be like without it? And there is so much to be said about the function of our body. So we can start focusing on appreciating it rather than just pooping all over the external.
And I think a lot of times, because we're hit so much with the external, this is what we should look like. This year we're all wearing skinny jeans. Good luck fitting in those, Yep. And it's a lot of pressure for people to try to, if you want to fit into a cultural sense, to do that. But I really, that's one of the things I appreciate about your book. It's not about fitting in a clique. It's more about fitting into your life. Mm-hmm. Being able to develop a life that really matters for you.
Yeah. So for many years, I worked as an assistant for Jack Canfield, had his success trainings. And I remember when Jack was a mentor of mine, and I would say, Jack, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. And I want to change the world, and I want to change the conversation of, Madison Avenue. I want, those images of women to just be blown up. And I was so crazy and passionate about it. And it's not that my passion is gone, but I've changed in the sense that I don't want to blow anything up. And I certainly don't want to eradicate people's jobs that are in the fashion industry and all of that. But we have to really be in touch with the fact that fashion and makeup and magazine covers and all of that is designed under the picture of what somebody made up that beauty is. And it's the same thing with the entertainment business and with celebrity. It's all very real, but how we deal with it is about us individually. And we are, exposed to 300 images of perfect people a day at a minimum. So how we stop the brain from comparing themselves and how we start focusing on us rather than outside is all part of the training that I do with women. And it's very, very powerful, but it's like I can look at a magazine and notice all the voices that go on and still move on through my day without spending the rest of the day obsessing. And I can say that about my students too. It's like, rule number one is that the images are there. How we stop taking those images on as truth is what empowers us.
Well, and most of the time, those images have been altered and photoshopped and airbrushed and you name it, so that it fits what because their goals are different as a magazine or someone who's got a product to sell. They want to make it look where it would be what they would consider sexy. To what we have now, where people can really look at things differently. I think your energy that you put towards that is really kind of helping as well, because there's a shift there. Now we're seeing models that are kind of all different sizes, as opposed to, a size 2. So it's really encouraging to see that. Well, we've got a few minutes left here. Can you tell us a little bit about the book you wrote, Skinny, Fat, Perfect?
Thank you. Well, I want to turn that back to you and say, well, what did you get from it? Because it's easy for me to, it's part memoir, it's part self-help. I teach a class called Body Image Mastery, but my book is a much simpler version of my class. It talks about my story in greater detail, and it actually goes into more detail about some of the tools that I brought up here today. Mm-hmm. And it's just, and I also share student stories about how students have overcome issues around body image, and just offer a lot of insight into what truth is for people individually and then collectively, in terms of, spiritual truth, which is, I live in a body, but I'm not a body.
Yeah.
And that is what I believe to be true. And how to separate those things is, again, part of the process. And that doesn't come in a pill form. That comes in learning how to, take off the layers that we have. Marianne, you talked before about fat being the greatest layer, the greatest protector. And I do go into detail about safety, that if we don't feel safe in our bodies, then, fat is the ultimate protector. And it's something that, it's a false protector, but it's something that, makes people feel safer.
Well, I really think it's something that's good for a period of time until mm-hmm. someone develops better skills in order how to deal with the anger, upset, frustrations, hurt, pain, whatever is going on in their lives, mm-hmm. And then it's like, okay, time to move through this cycle and go on, because you're right. I mean, our bodies are basically, it's like the horsey we're riding, it's not the soul. So. Mm-hmm. Well, Laura, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us here today. Gosh, that went quick, but it was so informative, and you're such an inspiration. I can see why people just, you've got a waiting list of people to sign up with you to work with you personally in regards to this, because you just give a whole new light to this topic. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Marianne. I appreciate that a lot. And right back at you. Aww. You do amazing work too. So thank you.
Get the good message out there. So you want to go pick up your copy of Skinny, Fat, Perfect. It's available at Laura's website at skinnyfatperfect.com. And we're going to pause here for a quick break, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Internationally recognized and award-winning author Judy Goodman works and teaches outside the box of limited thinking. Working with people from every walk of life, her goal is to empower you to be the best you can be, no matter what the challenge is. Born with the gift of seeing beyond our normal vision, she has an extraordinary gift of working with every challenge. Teaching beyond conventional wisdom, her work is described as life-changing. Visit judygoodman.com. That's judygoodman.com.
There comes a moment when you realize you're somewhere special, when you discover that each beautiful creature that you see has been rescued from a life of absolute horror and brought to this incredibly free place. Here's where their lives were forever changed and where yours will as well. Discover over 500 tigers, bears, and lions at the brand new visitor center at the Wild Animal Sanctuary just outside Denver. For more information, visit wildanimalsanctuary.org. Discover true freedom at the Wild Animal Sanctuary.
Have you ever had the sense that your thoughts might actually be doing something? Ancient secrets of manifesting have been masterfully revealed in the award-winning book Manifesting 123 by Ken Elliott. For the first time, the author's experiences and stories in this book describe exactly how your thoughts can create anything. You've been doing this all your life, but it's never been fully explained for you until now. Visit manifesting123.com for more information today. Manifesting123.com.
Ben Wexler is a gifted leadership development and strategy consultant for professionals who want to transform their organizations and careers. Through a uniquely personalized set of processes, participants discover their unique knowledge, how to leverage that knowledge and experience, and then put it all together with a global strategy. You're more valuable, your organization is more valuable, and the change is viral. Contact Ben at 630-881-1074, 630-881-1074.
Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so excited to be introducing our next guest, Vickie Helm, and she's here today to talk to us about her book, Ultimate Freedom. So welcome to the show, Vickie.
All right. Thank you. It's nice to be on here. I've been looking forward to doing your show, and I'm so excited you've invited me to be here. Thanks.
Oh, well, thank you. And, once I got my hands on this book, we definitely had to have you here, And so, I know your book covers quite a bit, and we're going to have some fun going through it all. But I want to start at the beginning. What inspired you to write this book?
Well, there is a couple of pieces of information in the first chapter that really inspired me to write this book. And one is a story of a lot of women, so many women, and my mother especially in this particular story, where she was stuck in a relationship that she did not want to be in. It was abusive, and she didn't know how to get out of it because she didn't know how to make enough money or set herself free. And when I was younger, I came home from school one day and she was just hunched over the table, just crying and crying. And I remember after she was done, she just set me on the counter and she said, "Vickie, don't ever let yourself get stuck." And I realized that having the ultimate freedom meant being unstuck in several areas. And so I wrote the book to help people become unstuck and really live the life that they dream of living.
I think having that kind of freedom is something everyone is choosing and really desires to have. So, and so that leads me to my next question. So what is ultimate freedom? Because I think when we talk about ultimate freedom, most people are like, wow, that's something I can't have because I might be stuck in this area or that area. So what does it really mean?
That's an excellent question. And what I found out over the time of creating my freedom is that freedom was actually, it's multi-layered. It's not just one thing. And unfortunately, we're often taught to pursue just one type of freedom, say financial freedom. And so you'll pursue that financial freedom and suddenly you find yourself miserable once you have it. And so what I found for myself was that there are really 6 types of freedoms. And when they're managed and lived well, that provides you with the ultimate freedom. One is obviously financial freedom. And then emotional and spiritual freedom, they're very key to having a sense of well-being and a sense of purpose, a sense of meaning. And those 2 things really provide a really strong quality of life. And then, of course, time freedom, creative freedom, and social freedom now is a big deal, because social freedom is about social media and being free to say what it is that you want, or expressing yourself and protecting your freedom in that manner as well. There is 6 key freedoms that build you a rockin' rich life. And these are the keys to having the ultimate freedom and having a sense of well-being, passion, purpose, and prosperity.
So in developing all of that, what are some of the pitfalls that people might not think about that they need to be aware of when looking for ultimate freedom?
That's great. You know, there are several pitfalls to freedom. One of them is that we're sold freedom as a convenience. Somehow we think freedom should be simple and easy. And part of this is marketed to us every single day, whether it's on the internet, whether it's, an infomercial that you're seeing on TV. It's almost as though everything in your life is being developed now to make it simple and easy. And freedom isn't simple and easy. Freedom is a skill set that allows you access to gifts inside you that help you develop what it is that you want to create in the world. And simple and easy is not often how anything is created. That is, having it be marketed to you as convenience. And another one is that we rely on other people's opinions so much, we lose the skill set of our own critical thinking and valuing what it is that we think about, what it is that we want. We value what somebody else is selling us as a form of freedom. And so freedom it's a very individual process. It's the piece of you that's going to look inside you and say, what is it that I want? And filling in that, and it sounds like an easy question, doesn't it?
It does, but I'm sure it has many layers to it. Because it's like
it does
what I want, but maybe what my family expects for me, or my boss expects for me, or my religious guru, whoever mentor expects for me.
Yes, and that's the key thing. When you get down to the point where you realize what it is that you want, you get this help from what I call the universe. I think that there's what is it they say that Jesus helps the man who helps himself. Mm-hmm. And so helping yourself, if you look at our forefathers, if you look all the way back in time, 1700s, 1600s, when there was no TV to influence what it was that you wanted to build, you built what it was that you could hand down to your next generation. And right now, it used to be the family farm and the family business. But now it's the mindset that gets handed down. So for generations now, the family that watched TV, the next family watched TV after work, who watches TV after work, and they have this routine. And the mindset and routine is the thing that gets handed to the next generation. That's either the gift or the slavery of what it is. And so if you model, what is it that I want? You can bet your offspring is going to say, what is it that I want to create? What is it? And there is a level of not allowing the marketed world to tell you what freedom is. So that you're not just going out after that one car that you want, or, this cycle of debt that they sell you so you can qualify to get credit, which is, if you think about it, qualifying for debt.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense, but that mindset is what's sold. Well, and that's the difference.
Yeah. And people, they don't realize that that's part of the trap. They think, I'm going to go ahead and I want these shoes with, with this brand or this designer or these fancy pants and fancy pants, imagine that. And they don't even realize, what it, on the back end, what living beyond a person's means, what that really is doing to them. So in your book, and I know I'm kind of switching topics here a little bit, in your book, you talk about character. And I really liked that chapter that you had on that. So is it possible to reshape someone's character? And if so, how would they go about doing that?
I think that is the most powerful thing you can do is reshape your character. And reshaping your character means that you're evaluating yourself and what you believe, or what you believe is possible. Mm-hmm. So, for example, one of the things that I've learned is that my kids, can get me to try harder, work more, excel more, because I want to provide them a good example of my ability and their abilities, or what's possible. And I want them to have certain skill sets that maybe aren't taught there. So we have a tendency as parents to do more for our children than we do for ourselves. Mm-hmm. So the first time they hand you that baby and they put the baby in your arms, the responsibility button in you switches. You no longer think, well, I can just do whatever I want. You're suddenly thinking, this is my baby, and I want to be the best parent ever. I want to give you all the love you need. You start changing your character and your beliefs about what you think is possible in one instant. And what we have a tendency to think is sometimes that changing your character, takes a long, arduous process. So maybe even just on a more basic level, let's say the first time you truly fell in love with someone, you would shift your character instantly. You're willing to no longer date anyone else. You're willing to commit to a relationship with them. And so, there's some thought in our minds that shifting into a better person is some arduous, long task that may take therapy and running through coals or up and down telephone poles and jumping out into the unknown. But the truth is, the character within you will change in a second as soon as you decide what's important to you. That's what your character always reflects. Your character reflects what's important to you in this moment, in this year, in this lifetime. And that can change on a dime. And that's the power that is change in human behavior.
I think that's probably reassuring for a lot of people because, there used to be this old way of thought where it's like, well, that's just who that person's always going to be, or they're like that all the time. When it's really, it's a choice. They can, people can choose to do some introspect and decide where they'd like their life to go and how they would like that to look, or not,
I found for me that the choice becomes easier when it's backed by love versus some hardcore discipline. Mm-hmm. And if I'm backed by some particular love of something, love of myself, love of my children, family, whatever, I can change my character in a moment's notice. And that's the beauty of loving yourself, because when you love yourself, or you begin to even fall more deeply in love with yourself or who you are, your character effortlessly changes, and it empowers you to do the things you want to do in order to provide you with the success you want to achieve in your life.
Mm. Well, in your book, you also talk about law of attraction, and I wanted to, and you discuss how our vibration really is sending out what we're looking to attract. So how important is it that we understand the nature of our vibration, and in the context of if we're looking to attract something different?
I think this is one of the key, most powerful forces in the universe. And the law of attraction is secondary to the law of vibration. Mm-hmm. So every person on the whole planet has their own vibration. It's like your own song or your own eyes. Your eyes are your eyes, or your fingerprint. Your fingerprint is your unique fingerprint. Well, everybody has that unique vibration. And I think within that unique vibration is your unique lessons, your unique gifts, your unique talents and learnings that are this lifetime. And what's interesting about vibration is that it's different for every person because everybody has a different fingerprint. And to say the law of attraction is you can just call on it and attract it to you, that's secondary to becoming the vibration. Mm-hmm. So everybody, we're forward motion beings. Humanity as a whole, human beings experience wanting to be better. They want somehow to move forward in their life. That's why success is always so important to us, whatever form that is. And what happens with vibration, it's almost the calling, the pull inside you to become what it is that you want to become. And the key to that is Albert Einstein wrote about that, and he said that you want to match the vibration, the frequency of the reality that you want. The matching of that frequency of the reality that you want is what you become. You have to become the frequency of that. You can't call it to you. You have to take an action towards it. And that frequency of that calling, that becoming that reality, that's how it draws to you in that moment. And so frequency is your essence of where you are right now, your vibratory rate, where you want to be, what you want to become, and you just start becoming that right now. It's the act as if, be as if.
Mm-hmm. And then you get to a point where you're really seeing the evidence of that here in the physical.
Yes, it manifests as you become it.
Well, the thing is I think a lot of people, when they get into the whole law of attraction manifesting piece, think that it needs to take like years. And if it's something really big, like, hey, I want to take my family on vacation, or I want that promotion, or I want a new house, that it's going to take a really long time. But it all is based on where their thoughts are and what they're putting their focus on. And if they're doing that backward, forward dance in, like, I want to attract this, but I'm doubting myself. And I want to attract that, but I'm doubting myself.
Yes. That's so important what you just said, Marianne. I just can't tell you how important that is. The reason that frequency or the law of vibration is secondary to the law of attraction is because you do not doubt when you become. You become by taking an action towards. Now, you can feel like a colt when you first take a first step. You know, a colt, when they're first born, they're wobbly. They're not running yet. They're just wobbly on their legs and stand up. You can even feel afraid and still move forward. But the inner core of you is saying, I am moving towards this. I am becoming this. I'm not attracting it to me. I'm becoming it. And it's like attraction, the law of attraction, the way it's marketed sometimes is that you don't have to change, or you don't have to be different. You can just think about it, hold that vibe for a while, let it come to you, and then relax. And in the law, the true law of attraction, the true law of vibration, there's no relax. You become that thing that you're attracted to. So the relaxing piece is your mind saying that you actually don't have to change. You don't have to get that. And that's probably not true for the law of attraction. You have to become what it is that you want to become.
Yeah. Well, and I know in your book, you've got, I mean, this book is such a wealth of information, Ultimate Freedom. You talk about a point in your life where things were, and I think everyone can relate to this, things were just a little financial, difficult at the time. And you found it challenging to purchase a ticket to an event that you went too. So when you, and I wanted you to kind of talk on this a little bit, because I felt like this was a turning point in some ways. Just like, what did you learn? What are some of the things that you learned at this event that turned your life around?
You know, that is one of my favorite stories, actually. I was an accountant. That's what I got my degree in. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, I've always been an entrepreneur, but for some reason I went to work as an accountant for a while before I went back to being an entrepreneur. And what happened was I went to this conference in Dallas, Texas, and I had the house, the cars, the kids, the student loans, everything else. So my debt to income ratio was really close. I didn't have a lot of spendable income. And I literally robbed Peter to pay Paul because I knew I wanted to go back to being an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. And I went to this event. And this event was full of millionaires. I mean, multi-millionaires. I was the only, I think, 5-figure earner in this whole thing. And for some reason, I went to dinner tonight and that night, and I went and I met a man who is very rich. I don't remember his name. I only had dinner with him once. And during this dinner, we had a conversation, and I wanted to know how he made his money. But I was a little afraid to ask, and so I said something politically correct, like, so what do you owe your success to? Or something very masky.
That's a good one.
and he looked at me. He didn't even answer it. He just looked me in the eye, very kind but very firm, and he said, Vickie, do you want to be rich? And nobody had ever asked me that before. Nobody ever said, do you want to be rich? Mm-hmm. He was very point blank. Do you want to be rich? And I stopped with that deer in the headlights look at him. And he said to me, you can't have what you cannot name. If you can't name that you want it, you cannot have it. Do you want to be rich? Yes or no? And so I had come from a family that made their wealth illegally. I wanted to do it legally. Mm-hmm. So I said to him, yes, I want to be rich, but I want to do it legally. And if you can't show me how to do that legally, then I'm not interested in having this conversation. And he said, great. He said, I'm going to give you 12 things that are going to prepare yourself for any opportunity, any way to get rich. These 12 things you have to do every day for the rest of your life, and you will be rich. And so I was very interested in knowing what they were. This was before the iPad was invented, so obviously I got a notepad right away, and I wrote them down. And I think that these are the most empowering tools I've ever learned. But the first thing he taught me was to be direct about what I wanted. Mm-hmm. So you've got to know what it is that you want out of life and why you want it. Because if you don't, he said, you're just going to float through life accepting whatever is given to you, and only beggars do that. And he said, you'll beg for a job, beg for a raise, beg for time off, beg for everything you get. And he said, God didn't intend for you to be a beggar. He intended for you to be a light in the world. And that really struck me, because nobody ever said you were intended to be a light in the world. Mm-hmm. And so I realized that I wasn't even direct about my wanting to be wealthy. I somehow was ashamed that I wanted to be rich, because sometimes people think being rich is being greedy. Well, that's not necessarily true. There's being rich, you can help a lot more people being rich than you can when you're broke.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that was really one of the, key things he told me. And he said also something that stood out for me. He told me that I couldn't care about what other people thought of me. Mm-hmm. And he was very clear. He said, in the beginning, people are going to make fun of you. They're going to be angry, or they're going to be envious of you. But then as you start to get more success, suddenly that's going to switch, and they're going to want to be around you. They're going to want to hang out with you. They're going to want to waste your time. They're going to want to tell people that they know you and hope it draws influence to them. And he said, then when you're successful, they're going to want your help. They're going to want you to do what you did for them so they can achieve success. And he said, you've got to have strong boundaries around that. You've got to say, no, I don't care if you think I'm successful or I'm, stupid doing this. You can't care about what other people think. You can only care about the success you're achieving. Are you achieving the goals you want to achieve? If you're not, that's where you need to put your focus. And so those are a couple of the things that he taught me that helped me achieve the success I have today.
Well, and it's interesting how these discussions we have with people provide us with these aha moments that like switch everything and switch tracks. And of course, we're not going to go through all 12 because we want people to pick up the book
Yes.
and discover their own aha moment as they read it and figure out what the book holds for them that maybe they haven't heard before. But I like the part where he talked about that you were meant, basically you're meant for greatness, and to step up to it.
Yes. Most people don't believe that they're meant for greatness. But the key thing is most everybody is born into hardship. There's not a lot of, hi, my childhood was excellent. That's the step up place. So whether, for instance, in my family, my grandmother, she had a 3rd grade education. She made it to America, hoping that one of her kids would graduate college. And she worked really hard to give me that stepping stool so that I would have the education she didn't. And when I walked across the stage during my college graduation, I specifically waved to her because I knew how hard she worked to get me there. I wasn't fulfilling my dream, though. I was fulfilling hers, really. And so there's another stepping stone. Again, I'll say I want my kids to have a different, stronger, more empowering view than my grandmother, who gave me the most empowering view of the times, which was get an education, get a good job, which isn't necessarily what's here now. Yeah. And so you're always embarking on bettering yourself or bettering the world and finding the place in you that wants to achieve your greatness before you die.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. I think most people, to have a fulfilled life, are looking for that. They're looking for that piece that, they could say, wow, I was here and I did something, fabulous, or I contributed in such a way that I felt added value to my existence.
Yes, and there's such a vast, different array. For some people, success looks like being a digital nomad. They own nothing. They have their computer. They travel the world. They Uber their way and Airbnb their way around the world. And that's success to them. That's the lifestyle they love. And other people are, they want the high-rise build apartment in downtown, New York, Denver, wherever. And some people want the mountain home. Some people want the beach house. Some people want the sustainable farm. Whatever success looks like to you, that's the lifestyle you want to experience.
Exactly. Well, do you know, Vickie, my goodness, we could talk for hours. You're such a beacon of light, and I do recommend everyone go up and pick up their copy of Ultimate Freedom. Where can our listeners connect with you?
Thank you. There's a couple of places you can connect with me. Amazon.com, Vickie Helm, Ultimate Freedom, Unlock the Secrets to a Life of Passion, Purpose, and Prosperity. You can also find me at smartgroupfirm.com, smartgroupfirm.com, as well as theultimatefreedombook.com.
Well, and people can catch you before you become a nomad on the yacht.
No, I'll still be in connection. And I'm at Facebook, Vickie Helm at Facebook.
Oh, well, thank you for taking the time to be with us here today, Vickie.
Thank you. It's been so fun to talk with you, Marianne. I really enjoyed it.
Me too. Well, I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to tune in today. And remember, make every moment count.
Join us next time for Moments with Marianne, when host Marianne Pestana brings another inspirational gifted leader to help us grow. Tune in every second Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Moments with Marianne, when the Dream Vision 7 radio network is at 1510 a.m. Boston. Or catch Moments with Marianne every Thursday and Friday at 5 p.m. and 5 a.m. Eastern Time by going to dreamvision7radio.com. To learn how Marianne started her business from the ground up, visit mariannepestana.com. Don't miss this, and remember, make every moment count.